say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Democratic brand right now has about the appeal with the American voter as the Cracker Barrel rebrand has with the American consumers. Bad, bad, bad. What are you doing? Oh, my goodness gracious. What are we talking about here in terms of big party registration changes in the key swing states? Let's look at the key 4 swing states that, in fact, do keep track of registration by party. Look, the Republican Party is in their best position at this point in the cycle since at least 2005, and all 4 of these key battleground states. We go out to the Southwest, Arizona. How about Nevada? Republicans haven't done this well since 2005. Oh, my goodness gracious, at this point in the cycle. North Carolina, I couldn't find a point at which Republicans were doing better at this point in the cycle. It's at least this century. It probably goes way back in the last century. And Pennsylvania, very similar. Republicans doing better at this point than at any point this century, at least as far as I could find. Now, what types of gains are we talking about here for the Republican Party? Well, let's compare it to this point during the first Trump administration all the way back in 2017. Look at this. The Republican Party gains in party registration compared to this point back in 2017 during the Trump first administration. In Arizona, you got a Republican gain of 3 points. Okay, how about Nevada? Up the hill we go, even though we're sticking in the Southwest. A gain of 6 points. How about, again, we come to the East Coast, North Carolina, a gain of 8 points for the Republicans. And in the Keystone State, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, again, we're talking about a gain of 8 points. My goodness gracious, for Republicans, they are converting old former Democrats to their side of the ledger, as well as picking up new voters, registering new voters, and it absolutely paid off for them back in the 2024 election. Now, of course, Donald Trump has been president since January. Are there any bright spots for Democrats? Have they picked up any ground since January 1 in terms of party registration? Not in these key swing states, these 4 key swing states. What are we talking about? Party registration margin gain since January 1, 2025. Which parties gain in Arizona? The GOP. How about Nevada? The GOP. North Carolina? The GOP. How about in Pennsylvania? We'll make it 4 for 4, the GOP. The bottom line is this, Jessica Dean. When it comes to party registration, Republicans have made massive gains compared to 8 years ago. They are in their best position in these key 4 swing states dating back at least 20 years. You have to go back at least 20 years, at least in the case of Nevada, longer in North Carolina and Pennsylvania. So Republicans looking pretty gosh darn good, at least when it comes to party registration. And we'll see what happens down the road. But at this point, as I said at the beginning, the Democratic brand is in about as good a position as the Cracker Barrel rebrand. It is bad, bad, bad for the Democrats.
Look, I only report it as I see it. And I've been sitting here staring into this camera and telling you for quite some time now exactly what is going to happen with the Democrat Party after it was infiltrated by liberal ideology and taken over. It is gone. Stick a fork in it. The Democrat Party is history. There's nobody leading it right now. There is nobody in charge. They're just running their mouth, pushing their liberal ideology agenda, and the American people are rejecting it in massive, massive numbers. More and more people are waking up and leaving the Democrat Party, just like I did, and either becoming a Republican or becoming an independent. Because the Democrat Party no longer stands for the average American Democrats' morals, values, and beliefs. It is happening in record numbers. I've been telling you it's going to happen. I've been getting attacked by liberals and Democrats, saying that I'm all full of crap. I don't know what I'm talking about. Look, nothing thrills me more than to be able to share with you CNN letting the liberals and Democrats know that your party has left you. You don't align with their values anymore. So join patriots like myself and the hundreds of thousands of others that have left the Democrat Party behind and are never looking back at them again. It's time, my friends. If you're a Democrat out there and you're just out there working to put food on the table and raise your children and take them to soccer practice or cheerleading practice and just do the right thing by your family, enjoy vacations, buy groceries, everyday normal things that Americans do. When you pay attention, and finally people are doing it, you pay attention to what's coming out of the talking heads in Washington, D.C., and the Democrat Party, the AOCs, the Rashida Tlaibs, the Alejandro Mars, the Cory Bookers, the Maxine Waters, even washed up Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Adam Shifty Shit. When you listen to what they're saying and what they believe in, you have to know that you do not align with that. And the only ones that are going to stay are those that do, that are far left liberals. And good luck, because you're never going to be back in charge of anything again. America is moving forward for better, for greener pastures, for all Americans. Whether you like it or not, you can be the most far left liberal nut job on the planet in America. We're still going to make things better for you, even though you're an ungrateful fuck who doesn't see the writing on the wall. Anyhow, you had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Whether you're watching us live tonight on the YouTube channel, the Rumble channel, or on X, formerly Twitter, please like, subscribe, share the videos and the show with your family and friends on your social media sites. That's how we grow this thing. That's how we continue to reach the masses and continue to put out there what's really happening in America. And I'm grateful that you're here with me tonight. Tonight, I've had a friend of mine that I haven't seen in many, many years. We served together in Operation Iraqi Freedom. We deployed together with the same Chinook unit. He came into town for some work, and I took him out to dinner tonight, and we had a few drinks. So I'm feeling really good, and I'm feeling happy that I got to see my buddy after all these years. And he's heading back tomorrow to continue his life and working on helicopters and doing patriotic things for America. And so, Wayne, thank you, brother, for everything you do for America and continue to do for our country. And you're a great American patriot. Okay, so let's talk about people that are not great American patriots that tried their damnness to sink the Trump ship and failed miserably. Who could we be talking about other than Georgia, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis? Georgia court has just ordered her and her agency to conduct new searches of records related to her criminal case against President Donald Trump after finding that her search methods were inadequate because she refused to turn over all the paperwork that they requested. The recent order from Fulton County Superior Court judge stems from a months-long pursuit by the conservative watchdog Judicial Watch to obtain communications between Willis's office and the January 6th Select Committee, as well as former special counsel Jack Smith's team. The order is the latest setback in the case for Willis after a judge ordered her office in January to pay $22,000 in legal fees to Judicial Watch, finding that she failed to fully respond to the watchdog's initial open records request. Tom Fulton, president of the Judicial Watch, told Fox News Digital his organization has been digging for Willis communications because they believe the district attorney improperly coordinated with the federal government to charge Trump over the 2020 election. The lawsuit is about any conclusion and cooperation with Congress and the Justice Department under the Biden administration and Jack Smith, and we haven't seen the documents. But they show that there have been, because their very extensive records show that they were there. They talked about them. We know they exist, and she refuses to turn them over. Asking about why Willis' communication with the January 6th committee or Smith would be out of line, Fulton said the mere existence of the interaction shows Willis's work lacked independence and that her indictment against Trump and 18 others was a political operation rather than an honest, good faith process. Oh, I love it. Look, if Nancy Pelosi or Adam Schiff are running this investigation, you can be darn sure it's not credible, Fulton said in his reference to the former Democrat House Speaker and member of the Democrat-led January 6th committee, respectively. The judge said his order was a response to an affidavit by Willis that failed to address searches of key devices belonging to the former county or from the former Fulton County Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade and Chief Investigator Michael Hill, both of whom were integral to gathering evidence in the investigation into Trump's alleged subversion of the 2020 election in Georgia. The court raised questions about whether the records had been searched, saying communications may have been overlooked and that Willis must respond within 14 days with a more comprehensive report of her search methods. In March of 2025, the court ordered Willis to produce 212 pages of records that were found after Willis's office had initially denied that they even existed. However, the new order directs Willis to clarify the search protocols used for Hill and Wade's records. Willis has faced enormous outside scrutiny from lawyers for the defendants and the Georgia state legislature over her investigation and prosecution of Donald Trump. Willis charged Trump and 18 co-defendants back in August of 2023 with racketeering and other violations over the 2020 election. But the case was withheld, whittled down to significantly because of the plea deals and dismissed charges. Ultimately, the Georgia Court of Appeals disqualified Willis from the case altogether, finding her private romantic relationship with Wade presented a conflict of interest. This case has been shelved indefinitely since the ruling, and it is my firm belief that it's a matter of time before that bitch right there is in orange and in handcuffs where she belongs. Now, speaking of people that were in handcuffs and where they belong, and due to a Trump derangement syndrome judge isn't right now. You may have not heard this story yet, and it's going to be a little shocking. Trust me, especially when you find out who the judge is that allowed this person out of prison. A woman arrested last month for making death threats against President Trump has been released by a federal judge who has clashed with the Trump administration several times this year, including by attempting to block the deportations of Venezuelan migrants under the Alien Enemies Act. Yes, my friends, that would be Chief Judge James Bosenberg, that lowlife piece of crap. He ordered Nathan Rose, that pretty piece of work, age 50, released from jail under electronic monitoring, and instructed her to visit a psychiatrist in New York City once she retrieves her belongings from the local police station. The judge's order came after U.S. Magistrate Judge Maxwell Oppenye ordered Jones to be held without bond and undergo a complete mental evaluation. So when she was arrested for threatening Trump, a judge ordered her held without bail. She's a risk to the president. And we're going to talk about what she threatened here. And then that piece of shit let her out. The original judge cited her very disturbing conduct on social media posts aimed at the president, combined with the fact that she had actually traveled to Washington, D.C. in order to possibly assassinate the president. She was arrested while she was attending a protest in Washington, D.C., which is outside the White House complex. And that's a picture of her standing outside the fence of the White House. Following investigation to a series of concerning Instagram and Facebook posts in early August, Jones labeled Trump a terrorist, referred to his administration as a dictatorship, and stated that Trump had caused extreme and unnecessary loss of life in relation to the coronavirus. She said, "I'm willing to sacrificially kill the President of the United States by disembowering him and cutting out his trachea with Liz Cheney and all the information present." August 6th post directed at the FBI states. She's not very bright, is she? An August 14th post directed to Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Jones allegedly wrote, "Please arrange the arrest and removal ceremony of President of the United States Trump as a terrorist of the American people from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the White House on Saturday, August 16th, 2025. The next day, Jones voluntarily agreed to an interview with Secret Service after they read her post, during which she then told them Trump is a terrorist and a Nazi, according to the police report. She said that if she had the opportunity, she would kill Trump at the compound in Washington, D.C. if she had to, and that she had a blatant object to do it with, which she said was the weapon she would use to carry out her mission of killing the president. Following that protest in Washington, D.C., on August 16th, Jones was interviewed again by Secret Service, during which she admitted that she made the threats towards Trump. During the interview of previous days, she was charged with threatening to kill, kidnap, or seriously hurt the president and sending messages across state lines that contained threats to kidnap or harm someone. And then, while she's sitting in jail waiting for her day in court because she is obviously a threat, she's psychologically fucked up in the head like all the rest of those liberals out there. That low-life piece of shit who has had every order he has thrown at Trump reversed by the higher courts and the Supreme Court, put in the check. He's been humiliated and embarrassed by Trump for all the illegal things he tried to do as a judge. And, he's about to be barred and probably will end up in jail himself for violating his oath of office and our Constitution by making up shit to try and convict Trump or get him busted on something or stop things that he's not allowed to do in his position because he has Trump derangement syndrome and he is so hell-bent on destroying Trump he turns around and lets that bitch out of jail. Why? Because he would like to see her kill the president. I just call it like I see it. There's no other reason for that piece of shit to allow that piece of shit to walk free. Is there? Speaking of pieces of shit, I want you to think about your city right now as I mention these numbers to you. Wherever you live, think about this happening in your city. 58 people were shot in Chicago, with 8 so far dead this Labor Day weekend, according to NBC Chicago. And at the juncture, when its mayor vowed to block President Donald Trump's effort to combat crime in Chicago, just like he did in LA, and just like he's currently doing in Washington, D.C., by activating the National Guard. The shooting took place in a series of unrelated incidents, with the majority resulting in no one being taken into custody, police said. Trump has suggested he may deploy the National Guard and other federal law enforcement to combat crime in the city. The victims of the fatal shooting so far this weekend, including at least 2 women and 3 men, as well as 2 other people not specified as to who they were. Authorities have not released the names of the deceased. Then, the piece of shit, the Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson, signed an executive order on Saturday prohibiting local police from working with their federal counterparts. This executive order makes it very clear that this president is not going to come in and deputize our police department like he did in Washington, D.C., Johnson said at a news conference with other city leaders. The mayor's office affirmed that Chicago police officers will continue to enforce state and local laws, but will not work with the National Guard or federal agents on patrols, arrest, immigration enforcement, or other law enforcement actions. He went on to say, we will protect our Constitution, as in the state of Illinois' Constitution. We will protect our city, as in the city he's the mayor of, Chicago. And we will protect our people, he said. Well, see, that's the problem, you idiot. You're not protecting your people. They're dying because you don't believe in law enforcement. You don't support the Chicago Police Department. You have Trump derangement syndrome. You're a far-left liberal nut job. And sadly, you don't realize that the Illinois Constitution, just like every state constitution in America, amounts to absolutely nothing when it comes to federal law and the United States Constitution, which trumps anything and everything that your dumbass can possibly say or sign as an executive order. So I'm going to say, we don't want to see tanks in our streets. There weren't tanks in the streets in LA or Washington, D.C., you dumbass. We don't want to see families ripped apart. The only families being ripped apart happen to be illegal immigrants that are committing crimes. And oh, guess what? If Chicago Police Department go out and arrest the dad tonight for doing something illegal and his kids happen to be with him, guess what? They're going to be separated from their kids, even if they're American citizens. Their kids don't get to go to jail with them. Their wife don't get to go to jail with them. We don't want grandmothers thrown into the back of unmarked vans. Where'd you see that happening at? We don't want to see homeless Chicagoans harassed or disappear by federal agents. That's happening where? The White House dismissed Jones' order on Saturday, claiming the Democrats were attempting to make efforts to reduce crime a partisan issue. If these Democrats focus on fixing crime in their own cities instead of doing political stunts to criticize the president, their communities would be in much safer position, White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson said in a statement to Reuters. Chicago has struggled with gun violence for decades. The city suffered another bloody weekend this past July 4th of 2025, when 55 people were shot and 6 of those were killed. Over Memorial Day weekend in Chicago, at the end of May 2022, people were shot, 2 fatally. According to city data, there have been 272 homicides in Chicago so far this year, and 225 fatal shootings that weren't connected to anything in particular, just random people fucking shooting random people, which are all black and youth. Black youth are gunning down black youth all over America. And where are they doing it at? Democrat-run cities. You pick any city in America, metropolitan city, where all your crime is taking place, and also where they allow Antifa and BLM to come in and riot and burn down and loot shit and set police cars on fire and burn down stores and department stores. And where's that all take place at, folks? Not in Republican-run cities, Democrat-run cities. Let me take you back to the opening of tonight's show, Democrats. The train has left the station. You better get on it, because your party's going down in flames because it supports illegal immigration, open borders, criminals over American citizens. That's not going to happen under President Trump's watch. He believes in the rule of law and order and is going to bring law and order to the streets of Chicago, just like he did in LA and just like he is doing in Washington, D.C., whether you like it or not. A panelist speaking at the People's Conference for Palestine in Detroit on Friday called the United States an evil country and expressed the need to destroy the idea of America and America's heads. Speaking on a panel titled "No Weapons for Genocide," the people demand an arms embargo. This idiot's name is Shaheen, I guess that's how you pronounce it, Sachin Padilla, P-E-D-D-A-D-A. He's a PhD student in economics and research coordinator at Progressive International, repeatedly ripped on the United States as an empire motivated by greed. That'd be that little twerp right there. An anti-American, horrible, hateful piece of low-life scum. In response to a question about how Americans can get more involved, Padilla paraphrased a quote by a deceased Palestinian author, Bassel Ajara, saying, "The average American will never understand the plight of the Palestinian person because the state of Israel is a carbon copy of the United States. And therefore, the thing to do is to destroy the idea of America in Americans' heads so that they can see the humanity of everybody outside the wrapping of American expeditional and imperialism and all things evil." As Padilla said these words, the crowd broke into applause. Padilla continued saying, "We have to dismantle the idea of American exceptionalism and superiority, supremacy, of being beyond reproach. I think it's very important that we normalize criticism as a healthy process and learn from our experiments in the world to push the boundaries of what is possible, to continue to fight for more and more, and to see how these empires respond to us, to continue to push further and harder. And another point during the panel, Padilla declared, we live in an evil country. He's calling the United States evil. As he lives in the United States and is a student in our universities, he said that since October 7th of 2023, we can say without certainty that the United States has been the most complex country. It's not even the right word to use. It's the most responsible country for what is happening, not only in Gaza, but also in the West Bank, and also all over the global South. He claimed that the U.S. is a country that has functionally for decades been the sole superpower of the world and has an agenda that is driven primarily by the accommodation of profit at the expense of human lives. To obstruct that point or beat around the bush, there does not serve us. We live in an evil country. It's just what's happening, he said, as the crowd again broke into applause. He said, that doesn't mean that we're all evil, he added, but it does mean we have a unique responsibility. We have a unique position here in the heart of the empire to act in solidarity with all of our siblings in Gaza and the West Bank and all around the world. Commenting on the remarks, one user on X posted, as an American, I find this galling. My culture and history have already been relentlessly attacked. Statues of Washington, Jefferson, and other founding fathers torn down as controversial, he said. Now we have a conference speaker openly talking about destroying the idea of America. The People's Conference for Palestine, organized by a dozen pro-Palestinian groups, began Friday and ran through this past Sunday. Even before it started, the gathering drew scrutiny for featuring speakers with extreme views, including two former prisoners of Israel released in Hamas deal, alongside who other than Representative Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, a prominent anti-Israel congresswoman. The conference opened Friday afternoon with an elaborate opening ceremony, with a speaker, after leading the crowd in chants, invited attendees to raise our national anthem as the band began playing a song in the foreign language. People wearing Middle Eastern type scarves proceeded in and then holding and waving Palestinian flags, while outside on the streets, they burned American flags. Happening right here under our nose. I've been telling you it's happening. I've been warning you it's happening. I've been sharing with you under the Obama administration, under the Biden administration, and now under the Trump administration, the Department of Justice and the FBI have already told us they're actively looking for terrorists that are in our country that were allowed to cross our border and got in here under Joe Biden's order of open borders, waiting to kill us. And this is what the Democrat Party of today, Congresswoman, Democrat Rashida Tlaib, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, Congresswoman AOC, they all support this. They condemn America. They condemn America's military, America's veterans, America's law enforcement. If they get their way, they will have Sharia law in numerous places across this country. Now, I have something that's going to be coming up in the very near future. that I'm going to be reporting on. The last time we went down to Texas along the southern border was to show you the illegal aliens that were coming across by the thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands, which became millions. We did 2 documentaries down there, sharing that because the left, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, they were all lying and saying that there was no problem. The border was secure. And then you had the Democrats up in Washington, D.C. saying the border's secure. Republicans are making this up. It's all a conspiracy theory. So we went down there and we showed you what was taking place. And part of what we showed you, if you go back and look at these documents or these documentaries, you can see them at douglasducote.com. Watch them and watch what we found. Watch what we exposed. Muslims coming across the border, undetected, getting over here. And then we went and sat down with the Border Patrol Union and talked to them about what we found and showed it to them. And they laid it out for us, plain and simple. That yes, they're here. They're getting across that border. We can only stop so many people. We've already caught, and this was back in 2019, we've already caught 150 people on the no terrorist watch list. They're terrorists trying to come across our border. And we have hundreds of thousands that managed to get through without being detected, that we know about, are not being apprehended because we don't have enough manpower. So we know they're here. Now, I said all that to say this. A dear friend of mine who's been on this show several times, Dan Goldberg, his son, Spencer, was killed by an illegal alien. He is an angel father, angel family member. He recently shared something with me that is happening in and around Houston, Texas. I knew a little bit about this happening after Hurricane Laura destroyed us over in Lake Charles, because what we had that was left over from our house, we needed a place to put it in storage. And all the storage places were destroyed around us. So we found a place in Beaumont, Texas to store our stuff. And every time we would go there to Beaumont to either put something in our storage unit or take something out, over a period of about a year and a half, once you got off the interstate and started going through Beaumont and towards where our storage unit was, we didn't see just one mosque being built. We saw numerous mosques being built. And my wife and I are like, what the hell's going on over here? Why are there so many mosques popping up in Beaumont, Texas? And there were so many things happening in my life at the time, as you know, they've been watching this for a while, because after Hurricane Laura, we got hit by Hurricane Delta. After Hurricane Delta, we got hit by a massive flood. You know, I mean, I can only do so much. And reporting on the illegal aliens coming across the border and letting you know there are terrorists coming across the border that have gotten into this country. Department of Justice is monitoring. They're trying to. The FBI is trying to find them. Then my friend happens to be in a place near Houston, Texas recently, and shared something with me that was very, very shocking. And that is, not only have the mosque in the local Texas towns grew by many, but now you can go in parts around Houston, local malls, Walmart, McDonald's, and see women in full burqas. That's correct. Full burqas. The only Muslims that believe in that also believe in Sharia law. Their women are suppressed. They're not allowed to do anything unless the man allows them to. And that is growing like a weed in and around the Houston, Texas area. So we're going to go back down there. And I'm going to go specifically to this particular area where he said, Doug, you can go at any time and see it for yourself. They're not even trying to hide it. If we have an abundance of women from the Middle East walking around in full burqas, we have a problem. And I'm going to expose it in the very near future. So be watching for that because it's going to come. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of what's happening with America and Venezuela at the moment, but it's really bad. It's bad for Venezuela. It's bad for the drug cartels. But you may recall, was it last month or the month before, when Donald Trump authorized the United States military to conduct military operations against drug cartels. Because he labeled them finally as terrorist organizations, which is what they are. The United States conducted a deadly military strike against a drug boat tied to the cartel Tren de Agua, President Donald Trump said today. The U.S. president said 11 people were killed in the strike in international waters. Secretary of State Marco Rubio described the lethal strike as taking place in the Southern Caribbean against a drug vessel which had departed from Venezuela. The use of military force against Latin American drug cartels represents a significant escalation by the Trump administration and could have serious implications for the region. Earlier this morning, on my orders, the U.S. military forces conducted a strike against positively identified Tren de Agua narco-terrorist in the Southcom area of responsibility. TDA is a designated foreign terrorist organization operating under the control of Nicolas Maduro, responsible for mass murder, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, acts of violence and terror against the United States in the Western Hemisphere, Trump said on a post on Truth Social. And who is this person, Nicolas Maduro? He's the president of Venezuela. For all you Operation Just Cause veterans like myself, Noriega comes to mind. Here we go again. Please let this serve as a notice to anybody even thinking about bringing drugs into the United States of America. Beware, he wrote. The State Department designated Tren de Agua, which originated in Venezuela, as a foreign terrorist organization and specifically designated them global terrorist back in February. The U.S. has amassed a large number of military assets in and around the Caribbean and Latin America, drawing an ear to Venezuela leader Nicolas Maduro. In remarks before he departed on a trip to Mexico and Ecuador on Tuesday, Rubio said the counter-drug mission would continue. we're going to wage combat against drug cartels that are flooding American streets and killing Americans, Rubio said. He said the route from Venezuela was a common one. Asked by CNN about the legal authority for military targeting the cartel, go figure CNN would ask that, Rubio said, I'm not going to answer for the White House counsel. Suffice it to say that all those steps were taken in advance. Because you dumbasses over at CNN just don't seem to get it. We have labeled them a terrorist organization, and our military has full authority to take out terrorists. What part of that don't you get? The president has designated these as a terrorist organization, which they are, Rubio said. Trump on Tuesday afternoon said the U.S. military, just over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat. It just happened moments ago. And our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staffs, he gave us a little bit of a briefing on it, Trump said. There's more where that came from, he said, noting that a lot of drugs are pouring into the U.S. from Venezuela. A senior defense official confirmed a precision strike against an alleged drug vessel in the Southern Caribbean. It did not go into operations about they don't want to give away exactly where they're at or exactly how they did it or what they're doing. Although the Pentagon did release this afternoon a video of the actual attack. So if you haven't seen it, it's pretty damn cool. If you like shit blowing up with bad people in it, it's floating all over the internet right now. CNN previously reported that the U.S. military was deploying more than 4,000 Marines and sailors to the western waters around Latin America and the Caribbean as part of a ramped-up effort to combat drug cartels. A show of force that has given the president a broad range of military operations should he want to target drug cartels. The Trump administration has taken an aggressive approach to combating Latin American drug cartels, designating many of them as foreign terrorist organizations and specifically designating them as global terrorists. On Friday, Rubio visited the headquarters of the U.S. Southern Command, which is responsible for the deployed asset. The top U.S. diplomat had previously suggested that military action against the cartels was a possibility. Verbose military presence in the region has drawn heated remarks from Maduro, the president of Venezuela. Trump administration has increased the bounty on the Venezuelan president's head to $50 million. His days are numbered. It's a matter of time before somebody within his little circle of trust collects on that $50 million. And he's going to end up just like Manuel Noriega did. Gotta love our military. Now, for all you liberals and Democrats out there that are only screaming, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files, Trump's in the Epstein files, got to release the Epstein files, only because Trump's in office, because you didn't give a shit before Trump got in office, especially the Democrats up in Washington, D.C., that went out of their way, especially Chuck Schumer, to make sure they didn't get released when Democrats were in charge. And we know why. And of course, they refused to admit it. It's because, Bill Clinton is all over it. Yes, Trump was an acquaintance of Jeffrey Epstein. We all know that. It's no secret. And then when Trump found out what Jeffrey Epstein was involved with, Trump disowned him, barred him from ever attending Mar-a-Lago or going to any Trump events. But Bill Clinton, when he was president, according to visitor logs at the White House, besides having an intern on her knees under the desk in the Oval Office, behind his wife's back, that'd be Monica Lewinsky, was also having Jeffrey Epstein visit the White House. Not once, not twice, but the last I checked, 11 times. But You all want to believe the fake liberal news that Donald Trump's in those files, and that's why they're not being released. If Donald Trump was in those files, you fucking morons, don't you think when Democrats had control of the White House, the FBI, the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, they would have released them? If there was any criminal evidence that Donald Trump was involved with sex with underage kids, the Democrats, hell, they threw everything else they had at the wall to see if it would stick, and nothing did. They made up shit that didn't exist. If you got evidence in these files that Donald Trump was having sex with underage kids with Jeffrey Epstein, the Democrats would have released that, but they didn't because they were protecting who? The Clintons. This is a fucking no-brainer, but the liberals just can't wrap their fucking brain around it because there's not much left up there. Well, you're about to get your wish. The House Oversight Committee released thousands of documents related to the Jeffrey Epstein case this afternoon. Thousands. The surprise file dump came ahead of an expected House-wide vote to formalize the committee's Epstein inquiry from last Wednesday afternoon. That vote was largely symbolic, would also direct the House Oversight Committee to release the Epstein files sent by the Department of Justice. Nearly 34,000 pages are being released that include the Department of Justice interview with Ghislaine Maxwell, which was his acquaintance, Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend, and videos that show her on the inside of Epstein's Palm Beach home. The drop included law enforcement videos that include taped interviews with survivors conducted during the 2005-2006 Palm Beach investigation involving Epstein, as well as police body cam footage and search footage. The committee said the Department of Justice produced the files with victims' identities protected, but Congress is now publishing the raw videos in a centralized repository. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer subpoenaed the Department of Justice in early August for all documents pertaining to the investigation of Epstein and Maxwell. The subpoena was directed by a bipartisan vote during an unrelated House Oversight Committee hearing that took place this last July. And we reported on that at that time. This is the most thorough investigation to the Epstein and Maxwell to date, and we're getting results, Comer said during a House Rules Committee meeting that took place this afternoon. We have already deposed former Attorney General Bill Barr. The Department of Justice provided nearly 34,000 pages of documents and will produce more, which are being made public as we speak. In the meantime, Congressman Robert Garcia, Democrat of California, the top Democrat on the committee, claimed that some 97% of the documents were already public. So they're already telling you 97% are already been made public. Now the rest are coming out. The sudden release appears to be a bid to neutralize an effort by Representatives Tom Massey, Republican of Kentucky, and Ro Khanna, Democrat of California, to force a vote on their own bill to make the Department of Justice release the remaining files. The bipartisan pair is spearheading what is known as a discharge petition, a rare procedure move that allows lawmakers to circumvent leadership if a majority of the House members sign on. Okay, you paying attention to this, Democrats and liberals? Such a vote could put Republican lawmakers, who are also pushing for more transparency, in a difficult position, forced to decide between the political ramifications of bucking the vote or defying their own leaders. Massey told Fox News Digital earlier this week he expects enough signatures to hit the threshold by the end of this week. However, I think there's a real good chance of that, he said. But Comer said the committee was way ahead of Massey and Kahn's move. We're going to go beyond it. We're already getting the documents from the administration, Comer said. I don't think the discharge petition is necessary at all. In addition to disposing Barr and subpoenaing the Department of Justice, Comer panel also sent subpoenas to former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, who had access to all the files and didn't release them when Democrats were in charge, which tells us Trump ain't in them. Ex-FBI Director James Comey, who knew what was in the files, went for the Russia Gate bullshit that wasn't true instead of releasing files that supposedly had Trump in them. And former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, because, they invited Epstein into the White House, not once, not twice, but about 24 times. You see, that's who they were protecting. And it's all going to come out. I would say before Friday, close of business, there will be no more files to release. And we're going to know the names tomorrow. You know why? Because tomorrow there's going to be a special press conference with some of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. They're going to name names. And according to the Democrat in charge of this press conference and the Republican in charge of this press conference, it's going to be shocking, because they're going to be very wealthy people that we all know, as well as politicians that they were sex trafficked to. That is tomorrow. I don't know the exact time of the press conference, but by the time Friday rolls around here, with all the rest of the documents being released, it's all going to come out. You had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. I thank you very, very much. Again, whether you're watching me tonight on the YouTube channel, the Rumble channel, or X, or any of the other social media platforms, please like and subscribe. Also, tell your family and friends about the show. Share our videos on your social media platforms. And I'll be back on Thursday for another live program. And Thursday, I will probably have a whole lot more to talk about when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and what these girls are going to say tomorrow in this press conference. I don't know what they're going to say. Hell, for all I know, one of them could come out and say Donald Trump did something to me. I don't know. But doesn't matter. Anybody that we can prove actively molested children needs to be held accountable, whether they're a Republican, whether they're a Democrat, whether they're a member of Congress, a president, a former president. If it can be proven that you had sex with kids, you need to go away. Now, the Democrats and the liberals are going to go to bed tonight, even if they don't pray. And they're going to pray that Trump's name gets dropped tomorrow. I guarantee you that's what they're going to do. I'll be back Thursday. I hope you will join me. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each and every one of you. Have a wonderful and safe evening, everybody. Have a wonderful day tomorrow, and I will see you back here on Thursday night. Good night.